Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Dan Hiscock, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Dylan Spivey. This evening we warmly welcome recruits from the 1st Recruit Training Battalion, Australian Army Indigenous Development Program, visiting from Kapooka, New South Wales. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Service Clubs Association, and we welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial, and students on behalf of St Ignatius School visiting from Toowong, Queensland, and students on behalf of All Saints Primary School visiting from Albany Creek, Queensland. Now, if you're able, I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. Students, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Trooper John Edmund Newman Ward. John Ward was born on the 12th of March 1893 in the Sydney suburb of St. Peters. He was the first of 5 children born to Patrick Joseph Ward and Amelia Jane Nay Jones. The family moved to Bungalow when Ward and his siblings were still young. When the First World War began, Ward was working as a labourer in the Queensland farming town of Ayr. He enlisted for service with the 2nd Light Horse Regiment at Ayr on the 17th of December 1914. After his initial training, he was allotted to the 5th Reinforcement of the 2nd Light Horse Regiment. He embarked with other reinforcements from Newcastle, New South Wales, on the 22nd of May 1915 aboard the transport ship Malakuta. After arriving in Egypt, Ward spent several months in training before being sent to Gallipoli in late September. He arrived at Anzac Cove at the start of October and was taken on strength of the 2nd Light Horse Regiment. His Gallipoli campaign came to an end just over 3 weeks later when he was evacuated to Malta suffering from dysentery. He returned to Egypt in February, where he was able to meet up with one of his brothers, George, who had recently arrived from Australia. The brothers had not seen one another for 6 years, and they posed for a photograph to mark the occasion. George survived the war, returning home in 1919. The photograph is displayed this afternoon by the Poor Reflection. Another brother, Percy, had arrived in Gallipoli in early December, just in time to be part of the evacuation later in the month. When the Gallipoli campaign came to an end, it is unknown if Percy was able to see his brothers before he left for France in mid-March. Sadly, he was mortally wounded in April by a bomb fragment soon after his battalion entered the front line near Armentières. Percy died, aged 20, at a nearby casualty clearing station. John Ward's unit, the 2nd Light Horse, moved into Sinai in late May, taking up positions near Romani. When the Ottoman 4th Army advanced into Sinai in late July, making for the Suez Canal, the British forces in the Sinai went on alert. The 2nd Light Horse Regiment took up outpost positions from Mount Meredith to Hod El Enna. John Ward, along with part of his squadron, was sent to occupy a position known as Cossack Post. A little after 11 p.m, strong Ottoman probing attacks began. The light horsemen were hard-pressed to keep their position from being overrun. By the time the order to withdraw arrived, Cossack Post was almost surrounded, and Ottoman troops had reached the Australian horse lines. Some men were able to withdraw, but John Ward and 9 others were unaccounted for after the battle. They had been cut off and taken prisoners of war. Ward and other prisoners were put on a train to Jerusalem, enduring a 2-day journey packed into cattle cars. The prisoners were then sent to Afyon Karathissa, but in January 1917, Ward was sent to Angora, where he was put to work on road building and other tasks. Working conditions were harsh, and it was not long until Ward became ill. Hospital conditions were rudimentary, and Ward's condition continued to deteriorate. He died of pneumonia on the 6th of March 1917 at Angora. He was 23 years old. A fellow prisoner, George Roberts, later stated in a letter to the Red Cross that prisoners had not been permitted to attend the burials of fellow captives. They are taken to a room in the hospital and washed, and then conveyed on a stretcher to the hospital's graveyard and buried by Turks. The graves bore no marks, and Roberts further lamented that we know they're English, That's all. After the war, the remains of Ward and other men who had died at Ankara were reinterred in the Baghdad Northgate War Cemetery in Iraq. As none of the remains could be identified, their names are commemorated collectively on the Angora War Memorial within this cemetery. John Ward's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pools of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Trooper John Edmund Newman Ward, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We'll leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, the staff and the volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. Wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.